Well, despite the credit crunch, people still want to have a slice of the property action.
And if you're up for taking the plunge, well, auctions are a great place to start.
It can be fraught, it can be fantastic. Whatever happens, it's fun when you buy your property under the hammer.
I'm in Sittingbourne, Kent. Until a few years ago, this was home to the Sittingbourne paper mill, once the largest producer of paper and newsprint in the world. But the question is, will today's auction lot be a licence to print money?
You better shop around.
I'm right on Sittingbourne High Street, and it's a rather substantial property we've got to explore.
The main space we're interested in are the offices above the two shops and the small shop unit on the corner. All this was formerly the home of a local newspaper, so time to get inside and see if I can root out the story.
Now, the entrance is through number 19, formerly the reception to the newspaper offices. Now, this little space has to remain as commercial or retail premises. I know the council will not budge on that. But it is pretty small. Maybe you could apply for change of use for a coffee bar, a little deli maybe. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's get upstairs and find the real opportunities. So up here are where the offices were based for the local newspaper that you can see. You've got the editor's office through there. It really does have that sort of commercial feel to it. You've got lots of full ceiling tiles, strip lighting, wood chip wallpaper everywhere. But it is a warren of rooms. You've got a big kitchen area through there, an office, an even bigger office through there. But what I do like about this place is look at this flooring. You've got some gorgeous original parquet floor tiles here. And I do happen to know that they run right the way through this floor. And looking around, you know what these offices are, just ready to go. But there's one thing I'd like to do. They're a bit dirty. Give them a dust.
This floor seems in pretty good nick. You can easily imagine a line of journalists in here, typing frantically to meet their deadlines. But for part 3 of our tour, I'd like you to walk with me through this rather uninviting walkway to somewhere with even more space.
You know, it just gets bigger and bigger. You've actually got a further 800 square feet of office space and an attic up there. Now, all of this commercial space has a wonderful, light, open feel to it with these massive windows. Now, it could be a pleasant place to work. I think you'd probably get around £14,000 to £20,000 rent for this per annum, which isn't bad. But I can't help feel these former newspaper offices are hiding a bigger story. My sources tell me the exclusive is to be found round the back.
Oh, and there's a news flash. As if the floor upon floor of square footage wasn't enough, one of the real bonuses of this property is what lurks outside.
The property comes with a large car park, and this space is the key to the building and the real development potential. Now, I know the local authority are really trying to regenerate the area and bring people back into the centre of town, and they may look favourably on a residential development. Now, the space is clearly there for 4, maybe 5 units. And what about extending up? A roof extension? Well, I think it would give you even more square footage, and I don't think it would be too out of place on the road. Now, you may well get planning out parking, but I think you'd limit your market and restrict the values. So, it all hangs on this square of tarmac. Amazing.
This building comes with 16 parking lots. That's more than enough for 4 or 5 flats, and more importantly, plenty to keep the planners happy. Plus, it gives the place options.
Lot 62 then is 15 to 19 High Street in Sittingbourne. Where do you want to start me then? Start me at 130. 130. The first time then at £150,000. Second time at £150,000 if you're sure you're all done, because it's going to be sold. Third and final time at £150,000. The gentleman standing right in front of me, you're all done. Sure, sir, for £150,000.
It was local man Steve who scooped this former newspaper office at the top guide price for £150,000. He and his business partner Ian were there to give us the exclusive on their plans for it.
Guys, congratulations. You paid the upper end of the guide price, £150,000. Were you pleased with that?
Very pleased with it. I mean, we would have gone up to about 165.
You have got a lot of building here for that money, I think.
There is a lot of square footage here, yeah.
It just seems to go on and on. I mean, the first time Steve showed me around it just kept going and going. You went into another room and it was, yeah, it's impressive.
So what are you going to do with this place?
Well, what are you going to do with this?
So what's your involvement, both of you? Because you were at the auction and you weren't.
No.
Well, we do quite a bit of development ourselves because I've got my own building firm and we've got a development side as well. And last year I said to Ian, does he want to come into it? And we did a development with Ian and my brother, and then this one came up. We went through some costings and stuff and looked at what we could probably do to the place, come with some figures, and then Ian said yes, and then I just went with the chequebook to the auction and bought it.
So, Ian, how did you feel when Steve phoned you up and said, I've got it?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky, really. He's one of the guys, one of the few guys I know that I would trust implicitly. So when he says it's a good deal and a good buy and it's going to make us money, I believe him.
So how involved are you with the property world?
Yeah, I kind of gave up building at Lego level, really, to be honest. I basically write him a cheque, he goes and spends it and shows me a place at the end of it.
So what else are you doing in your life at the moment, then?
Well, I work up in the city. Well, I probably shouldn't say that, actually. We're not too lights at the moment. But I'm not a trader, I'm an accountant, but I work for an investment bank, so...
So good with the finances?
I'm OK with the finances, and I actually just trained as an accountant just around the corner, just up the road, the local accountancy firm. So I know the area pretty well, I've always grown up in the area, I know what it's like. And when he said there was this big place on the high street, it's, yeah, it seemed good.
So you have all this space up here, corridors, a warren of rooms, upstairs, this floor. What are you going to do with all this space?
Well, the shop downstairs has got to stay as a commercial property, so that has to stay as retail. But we're going to convert it, or try, hopefully, if we can get through planning, turn it into flats, and we should, fingers crossed, get 5 or 6 flats in here. It's 3 2-bedders and 3 1-bedders. That's what we're planning.
It's fair to say we priced it on 5.
Priced it on 5,
so
yeah.
If we get 5, we do OK. If we get 6, real bonus is the way I see it.
But the biggest selling point for us was the car park out the back. People buy places and think, oh, I'll turn that into 4 flats, and then find you've got 1 parking space, and then planning won't allow you to convert it. Now, with a car park with 16 in it gives us complete scope to keep the shop downstairs, to keep the flats. We could probably... we've got enough car parking, really, for 10 flats, but obviously the footage isn't big enough for that, so we've got the parking for that as well.
So not only have they got the parking, but other offices along the street have also been converted to flats, so there's a precedent here. However, it is in a conservation area, and there is a chance it's listed. But touch wood, they're confident that they will get planning permission for the flats.
Have you thought about the budget and how much you guys are willing to spend on this project?
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't go into anything without actually thinking through the numbers. But we figure about 200,000 development on top of the 150 purchase price for the property. So sort of 350,000, maybe up to 400,000, depending on once we get into the real sort of detail of it.
So how much do you think you're going to sell each individual unit for?
I reckon the 3-bedroom flats, being really pessimistic, probably about 70k each. And the 3 2-bedders at 90k each. So you're looking at probably all in, for doing the sums, 480 in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, he knows. He works in finance.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
And I'm pessimistic.
So 480, if we can get it done for 400, that's including all cost, VAT and everything else as well, that gives you 20% return, and that's worst case scenario, I think, anyway.
And that's not even taking into account the business that you're going to have running downstairs.
That's without the business downstairs.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's going to be a bit of fun.
It's going to be a bit of fun. I mean, literally, yes, it could be a bit of a Brucey bonus, I suppose, if we get a little bit extra out of it, but it's not going to be a huge amount. I mean, a unit like that's not going to rent for much.
Nah, it's pretty small.
So that's why we said we might as well have fun with it and do something with it, but it's just got to decide.
We just haven't decided what yet.
No idea at all yet.
Chaps, you've got an awful lot of work to do here, but I do agree it's going to be a really exciting project. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very
Lovely to
much.
meet you both. Well done.
Thank you.
So hold that front page as we hope to have the breaking story later on in the show.
Ian and Steve are taking on a big, big project, although I think their grand plans make good sense. But what about the chance it could be listed? And will the council play ball? You can find out what happens later on in the programme.
But 8 months on, had things gone to plan? By the looks of it, the small shop space is now occupied and bringing in money. But what about the large office space? Well, there are signs things have changed, though not quite in the way I'd envisaged. It It looks like it's gone from press to press-ups. And from flats to fitness. How did that work out? What's the story here? We need Steve and gym owner Shelley to give us the headlines.
Well, since the last time you came, the idea was to convert the whole building into flats. After we started going through that process, I actually joined a gym, met Shelley.
Steve's very like-minded business-wise, and I was saying to him that I was looking for a bigger premises.
And I just said, well, we've got a place that might be perfect for you. She came down and had a look, and it sort of spiralled from there, really.
It was perfect because we just worked together. Rather than me going and finding a building and then having to change it to make it suitable, we worked with each other, trying to, you know, saying what I thought was best and obviously what could be done building-wise.
So we just changed over to that. So we changed design, went back to the architect, relaid the areas out, and ended up with what we've got now.
That seems to be the ideal solution for both in the short term, but in the long run, Steve hasn't given up on the idea of flats.
These are the plans the architect come up with after we obviously won the property. We gave him the originals and he then split them up into 7 flats. We ended up with 2 bed sits. I think it was 1 or 2 single bedders and some 2 bedders. And what we basically did was, after this was designed and we decided to go for the gym option, we used this as a blueprint. And from that blueprint, we could work out where the structural openings were going to be, where the structural alterations were going to be, and then use those for the gym layout.
As the kitchens and showers are now in place, should they go for the flat option at a later date, they'd be able to hit the ground running. They also made a head start on the gym, but that meant taking quite a gamble.
We didn't actually get planning application approval until 2 weeks before she was due in. So everything we did up until that date was completely at risk, which was a big risk. You know, we've put in £15,000 worth of air conditioning. All right, the roof maybe had to be redone anyway, but all the structural alterations, a lot of the structural support works. So we probably spent £60,000, £70,000 at risk, you know, until we got that final bit of paper from the council saying, yes, you have the approval. That was the risky bit. And there was a few sleepless nights, but not too bad. I didn't bother telling Ian.
Speaking of Steve's business partner, Ian, where is he?
Regarding my business partner, Ian, he's more of a silent partner, shall we say. You know, this is my expertise. I've got my own building firm. This is what we do day in, day out. So he's basically prepared to go along with whatever I say. He's more the finance guy, really. He's more on that front. So, you know, I bang ideas off Ian, like rent incomes and stuff like that. Regarding the construction, the cost for the build, Ian really didn't care. It was a case of, well, you just do it, cost what it costs, you know, let me know how much you've got to pay and we'll go from there.
So the only working out Ian was doing was on the figures. But how many pounds did Steve rack up?
Initially was looking at probably about 50, 60k to do the conversion. With engineers' fees, with architectural fees and everything else, we're probably looking at all in, probably about the 110 mark, something like that, we spent on the building.
They paid £150,000 for the building, and £110,000 budget takes their spend to around £260,000. But it's already paying its way.
The rental return we're looking at on this premises, we've basically got the gym upstairs, which we've agreed on a contract for £40,000 a year, and then we've got the shop downstairs as well, which we've made self-contained, which is rented out separately. We're probably getting 44k a year.
So the building's increased in value, is bringing in a significant income, and Steve and Ian could still turn it into flats at a later date. That's a good news story if ever I heard one.
We were lucky finding someone who wants to use it as a gym, obviously. And, you know, overall, Ian and myself were really, really happy with this return we're getting on it.
And you have to say, in these tough times, if you have the opportunity to get an investment working for you immediately, you'd be daft not to jump at it.